10 Lessons to Help You Overcome Overthinking, Stoic Philosophy for Growth. The more we think, the less we live. Søren Kierkegaard. Does it ever feel like your mind just won't turn off? Like a never-ending loop of worries, doubts, and what-ifs that keep you up at night? We've all been there, caught in a storm of overthinking, trapped in our own heads as our mental clutter holds us back from peace and productivity. But what if I told you there's a way to break free from this exhausting cycle? Today on Stoic in Your Life, we're diving into Stoic philosophy to uncover 10 powerful lessons that can help you overcome overthinking and bring clarity to your life. These timeless strategies are more relevant than ever in today's world of constant distractions, and they can help you take control of your thoughts instead of letting them control you. So if you're tired of the mental chaos and ready for a calmer, more focused mind, stay with us. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because on Stoic in Your Life, every lesson is designed to help you live with intention, peace, and purpose. 1. Prioritize action over endless thought. There are times in life when we sit down, fully aware that we need to do something, but instead of taking action, our minds start racing. We get stuck in a whirlwind of what-ifs and maybes, endlessly considering every possible outcome yet achieving nothing. It's like trying to push through thick fog. The more you think, the less you see. We've all been there, right? The paradox of overthinking, where the more we plan and worry, the less we actually do, leaving us exhausted, confused, and unproductive. This is where Stoic philosophy comes in with a practical solution. The Stoics recognized the danger of overthinking and saw action as the antidote. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, famously said, "The secret of all victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious." For Marcus, and for Stoics in general, it wasn't enough to sit in contemplation. True wisdom was about moving forward, doing what needed to be done no matter how small the step. Action wasn't just a choice, it was a necessity. Overthinking is often the result of fear of making the wrong choice, fear of failure, fear of what others might think. The irony is, the more you overthink, the more you hold yourself back. Each thought without action keeps you stuck in place, like a car spinning its wheels in mud. But when you take action, even if it's a small, imperfect step, you break free from that mental paralysis. You cut through the fog. In the moment you decide to act, no matter how tiny the move may seem, there's almost an immediate release of tension. It's like a weight lifts off your shoulders. That's the liberating power of action. It removes the doubt, the indecision, and the mental noise that overthinking generates. As you begin moving, you build momentum. What once seemed overwhelming, a health goal, a career decision, or even a tough conversation, starts to feel more manageable. Each step forward reinforces your sense of capability, your ability to keep going. The Stoics knew that we can control our actions, but we cannot control the results. This truth, often seen as daunting, is actually freeing. It takes away the pressure to predict and control every possible future outcome. The goal is not to control everything, but to act in alignment with our values and principles. In this way, every action becomes a learning experience. Even if the outcome isn't what we expected, we gain new knowledge, new insight, and new resilience. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, famously said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." The true difficulty lies in hesitation, in sitting back and contemplating rather than moving forward. In modern life, especially for men between the ages of 40 to 70, this lesson rings even louder. Many of you may feel the weight of time, the fear of failure, or the pressure of making the right choice. You've spent years building expectations, and with age comes the desire for stability. But here's the thing. The more you move, even in small, imperfect ways, the more you prove to yourself that you can adapt, that you can face what's ahead. Every action, no matter how small, reinforces confidence. It teaches you that the world is not as intimidating as it seems. It's not that we need to take giant leaps every day, Sometimes it's the little steps that make the biggest difference. So, whether you're contemplating a new business venture, a fitness routine, or simply improving your daily habits, the Stoic way is clear. Focus on what you can control, your actions. Let go of worrying about the end result. The only way forward is through action. Modern Stoicism teaches us that action is not only about the big things, it's about showing up every day, doing the work, and learning as you go. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in his meditations, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This wasn't a call to despair, but a reminder that life is fleeting. If we waste it paralyzed by overthinking, we lose the opportunity to truly live. Action, then, becomes the path to living intentionally. There's a profound wisdom in understanding that life's obstacles aren't meant to stop us. They're meant to guide us. Marcus Aurelius also said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very obstacles that seem to block our path, whether it's the fear of failure, uncertainty, or the unknown, are actually opportunities for growth. By taking action, we engage with the world and transform those obstacles into stepping stones. In our fast-paced, often overwhelming modern lives, action isn't just a solution to overthinking, it's the key to overcoming the mental traps that hold us back. Each small step you take toward your goals is progress. It doesn't matter if you know all the answers or if the path is clear. What matters is that you're moving forward. When you act, you learn, adapt, and grow stronger. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The real power lies in how you respond, by taking action, even when the outcome is uncertain. The Stoics understood that every challenge, every difficulty, is an opportunity to grow, and the only way to make the most of it is by taking action. If you want to overcome overthinking, take action. Whether it's making that call you've been putting off, starting that project, or simply taking the first step toward a better habit, move. With every action you take, you'll quiet the noise in your mind and start to build momentum toward the life you truly want to live. And as you do, you'll realize that most of the barriers in your way aren't real obstacles. They're just mental constructs, easily overcome by the simple act of moving forward. So let go of the unnecessary worry. Take action, however small, and keep moving. The Stoics would say that's the only way to truly live. 2. Reject perfection, embrace progress. The pursuit of perfection is a relentless drive that often leads not to greater success but to increased dissatisfaction and paralysis. We chase after an ideal, flawless and complete, only to find ourselves trapped by unattainable standards. Every small mistake feels catastrophic, every setback like a personal failure. This constant stress creates a breeding ground for chronic overthinking. Stoic philosophers understood this deeply. They knew that striving for perfection in the traditional sense was not only unrealistic but unnecessary. Seneca famously said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," highlighting that the anguish we experience while chasing this imagined state of perfection is often far worse than the imperfections themselves. How many times have you obsessed over getting something just right, only to find that the effort, the worry, and the stress far outweighed the actual result? This is where modern Stoicism, and particularly the Stoic secrets passed down through time, offers us relief. Instead of viewing imperfection as a flaw, Stoicism invites us to see it as a natural part of being human. In fact, it's by embracing these imperfections that we free ourselves from the impossible expectations that bind us and lead us into cycles of overthinking. This doesn't mean we shouldn't strive to improve or grow, quite the opposite. The Stoic approach teaches us that improvement is an ongoing process, not a destination. Progress is not defined by flawless outcomes, but by the lessons we learn through our mistakes. Now, what if you approached new challenges, projects, or skills with the mindset that mistakes are not only inevitable, but valuable? How much more willing would you be to start something new, take risks, or innovate if you knew that imperfections weren't obstacles but stepping stones to improvement? This shift in perspective is liberating. Marcus Aurelius, a leading figure in Stoicism, captured this beautifully when he said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacles we face, the imperfections and setbacks, aren't just things we need to get past. They are essential parts of our journey that shape and push us to grow. So, let's stop chasing an unrealistic version of perfection and start focusing on progress. Every small step forward is a victory worth celebrating. Whether it's a new habit, a small achievement, or simply the act of starting something you've been putting off, it's all progress. Instead of dwelling on what didn't go perfectly, why not take a moment to appreciate what you've learned from it? When we let go of the myth of perfection, we not only reduce the burden of overthinking, but we also open ourselves up to a world where growth is joyful, not stressful. For many of us, especially in modern life where everything seems to demand excellence at all times, it's easy to be swept away by our emotions, whether it's frustration at a mistake or anxiety over how others might perceive our imperfections. But Stoicism reminds us that our emotional responses don't always align with the truth of the situation. Feelings of failure or inadequacy often stem from our own unrealistic expectations, not from the reality of what's happening. By understanding this, we can take a step back, adjust our mindset, and focus on what truly matters: progress, not perfection. One of the most profound teachings of Stoic principles is the idea that we should focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. Perfection, by its very nature, is often out of our control. We cannot foresee every obstacle, nor can we always prevent mistakes. But what we can control is our response to these imperfections. We can choose to see them as learning experiences rather than failures. This is the heart of modern Stoicism, finding peace and strength in the progress we make, rather than in the elusive ideal of perfection. Perfection is an illusion that creates unnecessary stress and limits your potential. Instead, embrace the beauty of imperfection. See every mistake as a chance to learn, every obstacle as an opportunity to grow, and every step forward as progress. By doing this, you will not only find more joy in your journey, but also reduce the mental clutter that comes with trying to meet impossible standards. As Seneca wisely noted, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. By freeing ourselves from the imaginary pursuit of perfection, we can live more fully, more authentically, and with a clearer mind, grounded in the principles of modern Stoicism. 3. Embrace impermanence. You find yourself overthinking about the future or worrying about things you can't control. You might stress over past mistakes, anxiously replaying moments in your mind or planning for outcomes that might never come. This mental loop of worry and overthinking can be exhausting. Yet one of the most profound lessons we can learn from Stoic philosophy is the understanding of impermanence, the recognition that everything in life, including our thoughts, emotions, and circumstances, is temporary. And when you begin to accept this, you free yourself from the constant need to control everything, which is exactly where overthinking starts. When you find yourself spiraling into those what-ifs and maybes, aren't you trying to grasp onto something that's out of your control? You're trying to predict the future, forecast what others think, or mentally rehearse every possible scenario. But here's the reality: life doesn't work like that. It never stays still. The Stoics remind us that nothing in life is permanent, and that's a gift, not a burden. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said in Meditations, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. What if you really took that seriously right now? What would you do if you accepted that time is fleeting and that every moment is one you can never get back? Would you still waste your energy on overthinking what's out of your control? The essence of Stoicism is learning how to accept what we can't change while focusing on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and responses to life's inevitable changes. That's where the practice of embracing impermanence comes in. When you come to terms with the fact that life is in constant flux, you'll realize that overthinking is a barrier to your peace. Overthinking isn't just a product of uncertainty. It's often rooted in our desire to control outcomes. But in the grand scheme of things, we simply can't. No matter how hard we try, no matter how many hypothetical situations we run through our minds, the future is unpredictable. In fact, one of the most liberating thoughts you can adopt is that you don't need to control everything. Instead of trying to hold everything in place, let life flow. Live in the moment, not in the future that doesn't exist. Have you ever had a moment where you let go of worrying about the next step and just took a small action? Maybe it was as simple as going for a walk or talking to someone you care about. How did it feel when you let go of trying to figure it all out and just took that one step? If you've experienced it, you know exactly what I mean. There's a freedom that comes with stepping away from the grip of overthinking. When you accept that all things change, you stop holding on to the past and start to live more fully in the present. This shift in mindset is so much more than a philosophical idea. It's a practical tool for overcoming overthinking. The Stoics believed that the more we accept life's natural flow, the more peaceful we become. They didn't waste their energy on trying to freeze life in place. Instead, they acted in harmony with it. They understood that there is no use in clinging to what has passed or fearing what might come. As the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." Just like a river, life is always moving, always evolving, and so are you. By recognizing that everything, including your worries, will eventually pass, you can free yourself from the endless mental cycles that keep you stuck. Overthinking thrives when we don't acknowledge the transient nature of life. But when you begin to accept impermanence, you stop holding on to the past, to regrets, or to the what-ifs. Instead, you can approach your present circumstances with more clarity. Life's challenges, like the current in a river, may seem overwhelming at times, but they are also temporary. They will pass. The key is to focus on what you can control, how you respond to life's flow. Let go of the need to predict every step of your future and begin to take action based on your current values instead of the outcomes you hope to achieve. This doesn't mean you don't plan for the future or take necessary precautions, but it does mean you stop overthinking every possible scenario and allow space for life to unfold naturally. In modern life, especially when you're facing uncertainty or big decisions, the tendency to overthink can feel almost impossible to escape. How often have you spent hours thinking about a decision, trying to make it perfect, only to find that time keeps moving forward and nothing has changed except the mental exhaustion you've accumulated? This is where the power of impermanence can be truly life-changing. The moment you accept that things will pass, whether it's your worry, a challenging situation, or a difficult emotion, you begin to reclaim your peace of mind. When you allow yourself to release the mental grip you have on everything that's uncertain, you free up energy for more productive thoughts and actions. And here's the beautiful part. Once you stop obsessing over controlling every outcome, you begin to flow with life rather than against it. How would your life look if you let go of this constant mental chatter and embraced impermanence? Imagine a world where you're not constantly thinking ahead, second-guessing, or fearing what could go wrong. Instead, you're focused on the present, taking one step at a time, and trusting that life's natural flow will guide you where you need to go. That's the true power of Stoic wisdom. It's not about predicting or controlling the future. It's about letting go of the past and embracing the fluidity of the present moment. When you do, you might find that the weight lifts from your shoulders, your thoughts become clearer, and your life, in its impermanence, becomes far more peaceful. Because the reality is, the more you embrace impermanence, the more you allow yourself to grow, adapt, and live fully in each moment. Life moves forward, whether we're ready or not. But by accepting that change is inevitable, we gain the freedom to live authentically and to let go of overthinking. 4. Practice mindful detachment from external validation. In today's fast-paced world where social media dominates, It's all too easy to fall into the trap of constantly measuring your worth by how others perceive you. Whether you're scrolling through Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, it seems like everyone is living their best life, achieving success, maintaining perfect relationships, and showing off their latest accomplishments. And there you are, left questioning your own value. You might think, why don't I have the same things? Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? It's especially common for men to feel the weight of these pressures, as society often places high expectations on what it means to be successful in terms of career, appearance, relationships, and personal achievements. None of these external measures of success should dictate your sense of self-worth. Stoicism teaches us that real peace comes from within, not from the approval or judgment of others. And it's time you embraced that principle. Epictetus, one of the most respected Stoic philosophers, captured this idea perfectly when he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about that for a moment. How you react to things. The truth is, you have no control over what other people think of you. You can't control whether they approve of your decisions, your career, your lifestyle, or even your appearance. But what you can control is your response to their opinions. You get to choose how you allow those thoughts, judgments, or expectations to affect you. The moment you start overthinking about what others might think or how they might judge you, you become a prisoner of their approval. Now let's be clear. Mindful detachment doesn't mean rejecting feedback or isolating yourself from others. It simply means recognizing that your self-worth is not tied to the approval of anyone other than yourself. It's about shifting your mindset from, "How will they perceive me?" to "What do I stand for?" This simple shift in perspective allows you to take control of your thoughts and actions instead of allowing them to be dictated by the external world. It allows you to live authentically, to be true to your values, rather than being swayed by the opinions of others. When you stop living for approval, you stop overthinking everything. You don't waste mental energy on trying to guess how others will perceive your actions or decisions. Instead, you begin to make choices that are aligned with your core values and your true self. Have you ever experienced the freedom that comes with detaching from external validation? Maybe there was a time when you made a decision that was right for you, even though others may have disapproved, and you felt a sense of liberation. I bet you noticed how much lighter you felt once you stopped worrying about the judgment of others. And that feeling of freedom is exactly what Stoicism encourages us to embrace. You see, by practicing mindful detachment, you no longer have to overthink your decisions because you trust that they are aligned with your principles. You stop questioning yourself, and instead, you make choices based on what's in your best interest, not on what you think others expect from you. Imagine how powerful that would feel. To wake up each day knowing that your value isn't determined by the approval of others. You can breathe easier, live more authentically, and let go of the mental clutter that overthinking creates. This practice of detachment is something that takes time, but it's worth every ounce of effort. It allows you to live your life without constantly worrying about what others think or how you will be judged. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You'll find that the mental chatter begins to quiet, and your mind becomes more focused. And the best part? You're no longer a prisoner to other people's perceptions of you. You get to decide who you are and how you show up in the world. As you detach from the need for validation, you realize that your self-worth comes from within, not from external sources. What if you chose to redirect that energy inward, focusing on your own values, your own growth, and your own sense of purpose? What would that look like in your life? Would you be able to make decisions more confidently? Would you be able to let go of unnecessary stress and mental exhaustion? I believe that, like most people, you'd find that life becomes much easier when you stop overthinking every detail based on external judgment. You begin to act with purpose, clarity, and authenticity. In a world where so much of our self-worth is measured by likes, comments, and external opinions, it's incredibly important to remember that your true value cannot be dictated by these fleeting things. You are worthy because you exist, and your worth is based on the person you choose to be, not the reflection of yourself in someone else's eyes. And if you can learn to detach from external validation, you'll find that your thoughts will clear, your mind will calm, and your sense of self will grow stronger. You'll stop overthinking and start living more fully. 5. Question your emotional reactions. Stoicism teaches us that while emotions are a natural and unavoidable part of our human experience, they shouldn't be the driving force behind our decisions or the way we perceive reality. This principle comes from the wisdom of Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, who often reminded himself and others to step back and critically examine their emotional responses. He famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This quote captures the essence of Stoic thinking, that true strength and control come not from external circumstances, but from within. Think about the last time you felt completely overwhelmed by emotion. Maybe it was anxiety before an important meeting, or frustration after an argument with someone close to you. In those moments, emotions can feel like they take over, as if they are the ultimate reality of the situation. But here's the thing. Emotions are temporary. They come and go, and often they trick us into believing that the way we feel is the only truth. Stoicism teaches us not to suppress emotions, but to recognize that they are just one part of the bigger picture. Instead of letting them dictate your actions or cloud your judgment, Stoic principles encourage us to achieve a level of detachment. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means acknowledging them without letting them rule you. It's about developing what could be called an iron mind, where you can look at your emotions from a distance and respond to life's challenges with reason instead of letting your emotions steer you into reactive decisions. For example, let's say you're feeling discouraged after not getting a job you interviewed for. Your immediate emotional response might be to believe you're not good enough or that you'll never find the right opportunity. But if you take a step back and question that initial reaction, you might find that this setback is actually an opportunity in disguise. Maybe it's a chance to improve your skills or consider a different path. By not letting your emotions define your reality, you open yourself up to more rational and constructive options, rather than spiraling into overthinking or self-doubt. This ability to pause and reflect can start in simple ways. The next time you feel emotionally charged, whether it's anger, frustration, or fear, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself a few key questions. Is my reaction based on the reality of the situation, or is it colored by my emotions? Am I seeing this clearly, or is there another way to look at it? Often this brief pause is enough to stop you from being swept away by negative emotions and helps you handle the situation with more clarity and wisdom. As Epictetus taught, it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our view of them. What he means is that we have the power to change our perspective on any situation, and in doing so, we can change how we experience life's inevitable ups and downs. It's not about ignoring or suppressing how you feel, but about managing those feelings in a way that allows you to make better decisions. This is the Stoic approach to emotional resilience, understanding that while we cannot control every event in life, we can always control how we react to it. When you start questioning your emotional reactions, you're building an iron mind that doesn't bend to every emotional storm. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless, but rather being able to feel without letting those feelings distort your decisions or reality. It's about balance. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," reminding us that how we choose to think and respond shapes the person we become. By practicing this Stoic principle, you ensure that your thoughts and emotions don't lead you down paths of overthinking or regret. As you move forward in life, whether you're dealing with personal challenges, professional setbacks, or even daily frustrations, remember that emotional control is not about suppression. It's about Ix didn't deny the existence of emotions. They embraced them, but refused to be dominated by them. They knew that true peace of mind and clarity come from the ability to detach from impulsive reactions and instead respond with reason and virtue. So, next time you find yourself caught in a wave of emotion, pause, ask yourself the hard questions, and see how different your experience becomes when you're in control of your mind rather than being controlled by fleeting feelings. By following these Stoic principles, you'll not only overcome overthinking, but you'll also cultivate a life of wisdom, resilience, and emotional balance. 6. Live in the present moment. Living in the present moment is one of the core principles of Stoicism, and it's one that can drastically improve how we navigate life's ups and downs. So often, we tie our happiness and self-worth to outcomes we can't fully control, and that's where much of our stress and frustration comes from. Think about how many times you've worked hard on a project or aimed toward a personal goal, only to feel disappointed because the results didn't match your expectations. The Stoics, like Epictetus, teach us that peace comes from understanding the difference between what's in our control and what's not. As Epictetus famously said, some things are in our control and others not. This simple truth is at the heart of Stoic wisdom, offering a powerful reminder that while we can influence outcomes, we can never control them completely. If we're entirely focused on the end result, like a specific weight on the scale or a certain level of success in our careers, every small setback feels like a disaster. If a diet doesn't produce immediate results, or a project at work encounters unexpected problems, we can start to spiral into disappointment and overthinking. And why? Because we're fixating on something beyond our control, the outcome. This fixation can rob us of the satisfaction and peace that come from simply making an effort, learning from the process, and appreciating the present moment. But what if we shifted our mindset? What if, instead of obsessing over the final result, we focused on the effort itself? This is the essence of Stoic lessons, detaching from the outcome and rooting our self-worth in the process, the work, and the intention behind our actions. Marcus Aurelius, a key figure in Stoicism, often reminded himself that what truly matters is how we approach life, not how it turns out. He believed that we should focus on doing our best in the present moment and let go of what's beyond our reach. If we can adopt this mindset, we free ourselves from the constant pressure of achieving a specific result and instead find peace and satisfaction in the effort itself. Take something as simple as starting a fitness routine. If you focus solely on losing a specific number of pounds within a set time frame, you're bound to feel frustrated if progress is slow or doesn't happen exactly as planned. But if you shift your focus to simply enjoying the workout process, feeling stronger and more energized each day, your motivation becomes more sustainable. Weight loss then becomes a natural side effect rather than the only marker of success. The same applies to other areas of life, whether it's work, relationships, or personal growth. By focusing on what we can control, our actions, our choices, our attitude, we reduce stress and disappointment because we're no longer trying to control the uncontrollable. Living in the present also allows us to build resilience. When outcomes are not the ultimate measure of our worth, setbacks don't seem so terrifying. Instead, they become part of the journey, opportunities to learn, adjust, and grow. This shift in perspective fosters a healthier, more sustainable motivation because it's rooted in the here and now, not in some distant, potentially unattainable goal. You're no longer waiting for some far-off success to validate your efforts. Instead, you're finding value in the small daily actions you take. You're learning to appreciate the process, and that's where true fulfillment lies. So the next time you find yourself overly fixated on a particular result, whether in your career, personal life, or even something as simple as a hobby, take a moment to pause and reflect. Stoic principles remind us that life isn't about controlling the uncontrollable or achieving perfection. It's about doing our best with what's in front of us right now. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The power of Stoicism lies in understanding that your true strength comes from within, from how you choose to engage with the present moment, from the effort you put into every step, and from your ability to let go of what's beyond your control. This approach not only reduces overthinking, but also helps you live a life that's more peaceful, more intentional, and ultimately more fulfilled. So embrace the journey, appreciate the present, and let go of the outcome. That's the true power of living in the moment. Congratulations on making it this far. You're not just listening. You're taking action to conquer overthinking. Type Stoic mindset in the comments to show you're ready to live with more purpose and clarity. Trust me, the journey to peace and focus is just beginning. 7. Detach from outcomes. Detaching from outcomes is a powerful Stoic principle that allows us to be fully present and engaged in what we are doing, without being overwhelmed by anxiety over results. When we focus too much on the outcome, our minds are constantly distracted, worrying about whether or not we will succeed, and this fear can paralyze us, making it harder to perform at our best. On the other hand, when we concentrate on the task itself, when we immerse ourselves in the process, we naturally do better because we're operating from a place of genuine engagement and authenticity, rather than fear and attachment. Ironically, by letting go of the obsession with the final result, we often find that we achieve better outcomes. The Stoics understood this deeply, and Marcus Aurelius captured it perfectly when he said, "Just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter." This is a liberating way to live, because it frees you from the constant stress of trying to control everything, and instead allows you to focus on what you can control: your actions, your decisions, and your effort in the present moment. Think about how often we get caught up in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. We dwell on mistakes we made last week, worrying endlessly about how we might have done things differently. Or we fret about an upcoming deadline or event, letting the fear of what might happen consume us. But Stoicism teaches us that the only time we truly have control over is the present. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, confine yourself to the present. This simple yet profound Stoic lesson encourages us to stop letting our thoughts wander too far into the past or the future, because both are outside our control. The past has already happened and cannot be changed, and the future is unpredictable. The only time we can actively shape is the present, which is why it's so important to focus on it fully. Consider how often you let your mind drift. Maybe you're sitting at home thinking about an argument you had days ago, replaying it over and over in your head. Or perhaps you're thinking about a work presentation you have tomorrow, running through all the ways it could go wrong. These thoughts are not only distracting, but also draining. They pull you away from the here and now, preventing you from fully engaging with what's happening right in front of you. In modern life, this constant mental wandering diminishes both our effectiveness and our happiness, because it reduces our ability to be present in the moment. If we are too focused on what's already happened or what might happen, we miss out on the richness of life that's unfolding right before us. Being fully present means paying attention to what's happening in the here and now. This doesn't mean ignoring the lessons of the past or failing to plan for the future, but rather not letting those things dominate our attention at the expense of the current moment. It's about finding balance and not allowing one aspect of our lives to overshadow everything else. If you're spending time with a friend but your mind is preoccupied with tomorrow's meeting, you're not truly present. You miss out on the connection and experience with your friend. And ironically, you're not doing much good for your preparation either, because scattered focus rarely leads to quality results. But when you make the choice to be fully engaged with your friend, you enrich that moment, and often, your mind will feel clearer and more prepared when it's time to focus on your work again. Practicing presence can begin with something as simple as mindful breathing. The next time you find your thoughts drifting to the past or racing ahead to the future, take a few deep breaths and focus on your surroundings. Notice the details around you, the sights, sounds, and smells that ground you in the moment. Feel the air on your skin, the floor beneath your feet. This small practice helps bring you back to the present, reminding you that life is happening now, not in the regrets of yesterday or the uncertainties of tomorrow. It's not just about being physically present, but mentally and emotionally grounded in the moment you're living. Incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine aligns beautifully with the Stoic practice of gratitude. When you are truly present, you begin to notice the small joys and victories that you might otherwise overlook. You appreciate life as it is, without constantly wishing it were different or fearing what it might become. This ability to be thankful for the present moment not only makes you more content but also enriches your overall experience of life. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how important it is to live with purpose in the present, writing, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By focusing on the present, you improve the quality of your thoughts, and by doing so, you enhance the quality of your life." Living in the present helps you manage stress better. Every moment spent dwelling on the past or worrying about the future is a moment lost, a moment you can never get back. The present is your reality, the only time when you can act, make decisions, and shape your life. Marcus Aurelius urged us to live with vigor and purpose in the present, not passively letting life slip by, but actively engaging in it, shaping it moment by moment. By embracing this principle, you not only reduce overthinking but also create a life that is more fulfilling, more purposeful, and more aligned with your true values. This is what modern Stoicism teaches us, that peace and resilience come from being fully alive in the present, not tied to outcomes that we can't control. By learning to detach from outcomes, you also open yourself up to a deeper sense of peace. When you stop worrying about how everything will turn out, and instead focus on doing your best right now, you begin to enjoy life more fully. The pressure lifts, and you no longer feel burdened by the need for everything to go perfectly. You can handle setbacks and challenges with more grace because they are no longer seen as failures but simply as part of the journey. This shift in mindset can transform how you experience life, making you more resilient and more at ease with uncertainty. So, as we move forward, let's make a conscious effort to bring our attention back to the present whenever we find it wandering. Let's remind ourselves that the present is where life happens, and by focusing on the here and now, we live with more peace, purpose, and clarity. This Stoic secret of detaching from outcomes and living in the present is not just about reducing overthinking, it's about enriching your entire existence. It's about fully embracing the life you have right now, not the one you think you should have or the one you fear you might lose. It's about making the most of the moments you're given because they are all you truly have. Let's make the most of now, for it's where true living takes place. 8. Separate your identity from your thoughts. Overthinking often pulls us into a mental whirlwind where every thought seems like a part of who we are. We feel as though we must identify with every passing worry, fear, or anxiety. It's like being caught in an endless cycle where our thoughts become the script of our lives. But in reality, this is a trap. The Stoics, who understood the inner workings of the mind, taught us that our thoughts are simply mental events. They come and go, and they don't define us. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, put it perfectly in his meditations. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your impulses. You are only what you decide to be. This profound statement is a reminder that we are not the worries, doubts, or fleeting emotions that cross our minds. Instead, our true essence lies in our actions, our character, and our decisions. We aren't defined by what goes on in our head. We are defined by how we choose to respond to it. In the fast-paced world we live in today, it's easy to get caught up in the chaos of constant thoughts. How often have you found yourself ruminating over something from the past, worrying about an uncertain future, or just caught in a loop of what-if scenarios? These thoughts can quickly become overwhelming and pull us away from the present moment. The Stoics knew this struggle well, which is why they advocated for separating our identity from our thoughts. Imagine for a moment that you're walking through a forest. As you stroll, different thoughts pop into your head, like leaves falling from the trees. Some are heavy and dark, others light and fluffy. But just because you notice the leaves doesn't mean you have to carry them. Similarly, when a thought arises, whether it's a worry, a regret, or a fear, recognize it, acknowledge its presence, but don't let it consume you. Don't tie your self-worth to it. Acknowledge the thought without judgment and let it pass, like a leaf carried away by the wind. This practice of detaching ourselves from our thoughts is crucial in overcoming overthinking. It helps us regain control of our mental state, preventing us from spiraling into unnecessary worry. When we stop identifying with our thoughts, we free ourselves from their power. This doesn't mean that we stop thinking. It means that we stop allowing our thoughts to control us. Instead of getting lost in them, we learn to observe them from a place of calm awareness. One of the key principles of Stoic philosophy is the idea that while we cannot control the thoughts that come into our minds, we can control how we respond to them. Overthinking often comes from the fear of not having control over our circumstances, but the Stoics show us that the real power lies in our ability to control our reactions. In essence, we are not at the mercy of our thoughts. We have the power to decide how we engage with them. As Epictetus wisely stated, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By practicing this detachment, we learn to differentiate between the noise in our minds and the truth of who we are. Our thoughts are simply passing moments, but our values, our integrity, and our actions define us. As you go through your day, try to notice when a thought pops up and try not to react to it immediately. Observe it as you would a passing car on the street. Don't chase it, don't judge it, just notice it and move on. Over time, this practice will help you break free from the grip of overthinking. This Stoic lesson is particularly relevant in today's world, where we are constantly bombarded with distractions, pressures, and external judgments. Many of us, especially as we get older, can find ourselves questioning our value based on the thoughts and insecurities that arise. We might worry about what others think, about past decisions, or about how we're perceived. But the Stoics remind us that our true worth is not determined by these fleeting thoughts. It's determined by our actions, our choices, and the resilience we show in facing life's challenges. As you find yourself trapped in a web of overthinking, take a step back and remember Marcus Aurelius's words. You are not your thoughts. Separate who you are from what you're thinking. By doing so, you'll free yourself from the endless cycles of overthinking and find a deeper, more grounded sense of peace within yourself. You are the architect of your own mind, and with the Stoic practice of detachment, you can choose to rise above the noise, cultivate clarity, and live with purpose. 9. Cultivate gratitude for what is. Overthinking often pulls us into a whirlwind of worry. We fixate on what we don't have, what could go wrong, or what we might lose. It's easy to get caught in this cycle, especially when life throws curveballs at us. But here's the thing. When we focus on what's missing, or what could be better, we drown in a sea of anxious thoughts. We forget to notice what's already good. What if we could pause for a moment, breathe deeply, and shift our focus from what we lack to what we have? It's this simple shift that can have a powerful impact on our ability to quiet the mind and regain peace. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And to master yourself, to master your thoughts, you must first practice gratitude. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It's about consciously focusing on the good that's already in your life, even when things feel uncertain. It's about acknowledging the small joys that often go unnoticed in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Take a moment to think about the people you love, the opportunities you've had, the beauty around you, or even just the comfort of a warm cup of coffee in the morning. These are the things that, when we pay attention to them, remind us of the abundance we have in our lives. Think of gratitude as a mental exercise. You wouldn't expect to build muscle without consistent effort, and the same goes for cultivating a mindset of thankfulness. When we regularly practice gratitude, whether through journaling or quiet reflection, we train our minds to look for the positive even when life feels challenging. It's about shifting our focus away from scarcity and toward abundance. This simple act of acknowledging the good helps us build mental resilience and reduces anxiety. Have you ever noticed how when you start your day with something as simple as gratitude, your outlook can shift dramatically? Maybe you begin with thinking about your health, your family, or even the small victories of the day before. Suddenly, your worries don't seem so overwhelming because you're not just seeing problems. You're seeing solutions, possibilities, and things to be thankful for. The Stoics didn't deny the challenges or hardships of life. They simply chose to focus on what they could control. They knew that by practicing gratitude, they could maintain peace even in the most turbulent times. This is why Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, repeatedly reminded himself to embrace each moment with a sense of appreciation. He wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. You need to be strong enough to stand your ground against the blows of fate." Yet through this, he also practiced gratitude for each day he lived and each person he encountered. He didn't ignore the struggles, but he didn't let them define him either. If you're caught in the cycle of overthinking, try this. Every night before you go to bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be monumental. Maybe it's the warmth of your blanket, the kindness of a friend, or the feeling of accomplishing something small that day. This practice won't make all your problems disappear, but it will shift your focus. When you start to notice the blessings in your life, overthinking has less power over you. As you begin to live with more gratitude, you'll notice that your anxiety decreases, your clarity improves, and you feel more at peace with what is. The act of giving thanks doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It simply means that in the face of those challenges, you have the power to find peace and perspective. 10. Control what you say to yourself. Have you ever noticed how the way you talk to yourself shapes how you feel about life? It's easy to overlook, but the words we choose to speak in our own minds have an incredible power over our thoughts, emotions, and even the outcomes of our actions. Negative self-talk, the harsh, critical voice that tells you you're not good enough or that you're bound to fail, can easily lead to a spiral of overthinking. And overthinking? Well, we both know it can quickly turn into anxiety, doubt, and unnecessary stress. The Stoics understood this deeply, as they recognized that how we speak to ourselves directly influences how we experience the world around us. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple but powerful idea isn't just about how we react to external events, but how we react to our own inner dialogue. After all, isn't the way we think about something just as important as the thing itself? If we repeatedly tell ourselves that we're not capable, or that we'll inevitably fail, we allow those thoughts to become our reality. In turn, that leads to more overthinking, more doubt, and more paralysis by analysis. This vicious cycle holds us back from taking action, from growing, and from truly embracing life's challenges. Now, imagine for a moment what would happen if you could change the conversation you're having with yourself. What if, instead of telling yourself, "I can't," you started telling yourself, "I will"? What if, instead of thinking, "What if I fail?" you shifted to, "What can I learn from this?" It's a small change, but it's incredibly powerful. The Stoics believed that we have the ability and the responsibility to reshape our internal narrative. By changing the story we tell ourselves, we can change how we feel and how we act. This shift isn't about ignoring difficulties or pretending that everything is perfect. Rather, it's about recognizing that we always have control over how we interpret and respond to life's events. We might not be able to control what happens to us, but we can control how we think and speak about those events. And that, my friend, is where the power lies. If you've ever faced a challenge that seemed overwhelming, think about how your internal dialogue shaped your response. When you told yourself, "I can't handle this," didn't it feel like the weight of the world was on your shoulders? But when you shifted to, "I can figure this out, step by step," didn't the situation suddenly seem more manageable? It's amazing how much difference a single thought can make. The Stoics were masters of this. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often reminded himself to approach life with calmness and clarity, no matter how difficult the situation. In Meditations, he wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If we tell ourselves that we're not enough, we create an experience where we feel inadequate. But if we replace those thoughts with affirmations of possibility and resilience, we create an entirely different experience. One where we see challenges as opportunities to learn, grow, and prove to ourselves just how capable we are. This doesn't mean you need to be perfect. Self-talk is a practice, and like any practice, it takes time to improve. You're going to have days when negative thoughts creep in, when the voice in your head tells you that you're not enough, that you're not ready. But here's the key. When that happens, notice it. Acknowledge the thought without judgment, and gently replace it with something more empowering. Instead of spiraling into a world of doubt, start to challenge your internal narrative. It's not about silencing your inner critic forever. It's about learning to speak to yourself with kindness, encouragement, and a sense of possibility. Think of it like being your own best friend. I want you to think about the next time you face a challenge. Before overthinking it, take a moment to pause and ask, what story am I telling myself about this? Is it one that empowers me or one that limits me? Changing your internal dialogue is not an overnight process, but it's a habit that will gradually shift how you approach life's challenges. Over time, you'll notice a significant difference in how you handle uncertainty, how you face obstacles, and how much more confident and capable you feel. So the next time your mind starts to race with doubts and what-ifs, remember that you have the power to change the narrative. Your thoughts don't define you. Your actions do. As we wrap up today's video on the 10 lessons to help you overcome overthinking, I encourage you to start applying these Stoic principles in your daily life. It doesn't have to be all at once. Just take one step at a time. Whether it's learning to control your inner dialogue, focusing on the present, or letting go of the need for perfection, these small shifts can make a big difference in how you experience life. Remember, true growth starts from within. If any of these lessons resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Which one will you focus on first? Share your thoughts, and let's continue this journey together. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on Stoic in Your Life for more tips on living with intention and peace. Keep growing, and remember, the path to a calm mind and fulfilled life begins with just one mindful step.